I know that there are some moments in life when you have to just go with your intuition and trust the unknown. That moments come as well. But I would say just keep it to the minimum.
It's the fundamental piece of how we start to make
Yeah.
decisions. So I wanted to understand, through your course at Tummoc, how did you navigate between giving importance to soft skills and navigating through data-driven decisions?
The fact that I was basically in the various jobs that I was working professionally, I was navigating different markets and, establishing ecosystems at various places, right? So numbers and data and, market research and all of that was definitely helping. So that kind of helped me here. Now, from when I joined my own startup completely full-time, 5.5 years back, that number thing was always there in me. And now if I tell you, even the branding strategies that we do here, everything is numbers. Brand-led growth.
So you were working in a 9 to 5 and it would have been pretty comfortable and you just have a clear direction as to what you're going to be working on. From there to starting your own company where you'll have to interact with a lot of people, cross-functionally collaborate. So how has this shift been and how difficult has it been to collaborate?
When I was working also, I knew that eventually I have to get into my startup, but I think as luck would have it, I wanted to be at a point where people know that I'm leaving not because of my work, like whatever the best that I could achieve in this particular thing, I've done it. And then you drop the mic. And then of course you are very scared because you're getting into something absolutely no idea.
I'd like to welcome you all to another episode of Leadership Unplugged, where we bring to you candid conversation with leaders who've been reshaping the industry, challenging the norms, and redefining the future of leadership. Let us take a moment to think about what exactly were our aspirations when we were kids. Some of us wanted to become pilots, astronauts, footballers, and some of us probably did want to become MBA graduates. But the curveballs life throws at us, we end up reaching places where we have never imagined and experienced. Similarly, there's one such personality that we bring to you, Miss Monalisha Thakur, whose life has been as intriguing and interesting as life's curveballs. Now, Mrs. Monalisha Thakur is the co-founder and CMO at Tummoc. Tummoc is India's first multimodal app that's been reversing the public perception on public transportation system by making it seamless and sustainable through Tummoc.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you so much for calling me.
So, ma'am, you started off with a BTech in food technology
Yeah.
and you did your PGDM in marketing and operations.
Yeah. I
And
did.
you ended up co-founding a mobility app that's making people's life easier for using public transportation system. So what prompted the shift? What was your thought behind that?
So, before even we get into BTech, I mean, if you really go back to my life, even when I was a kid, I was someone who was very inquisitive, someone who always wanted to take decisions rather than really sitting and pondering on it and basically, be the first mover and take, stand on it and do it yourself, by myself. That is how I have been all my life. So I think you don't even know subconsciously that there are things that you want to do. But as you very, very rightly mentioned, that life throws curveball at you, and then you have two choices. Either you take a decision that, okay, you know what, I'll just keep blaming on the other person and not take a stand. And I have always been the second person, that it does not matter how big the problem is, I always go up and solve it. I have always been a problem solver all my life. So yeah, I mean, in my 12th, I had my PCMB. Half of my family is a doctor and half of them are engineers. Started from there. Didn't get good seat in my pursuing of medical. And I have my cardiologist and gynec and all of these people, fair share of doctors in the house. So they really wanted me to pursue further. And then even in engineering, I really wanted to do something which basically creates an impact. And for me, intent is very important for whatever that I do. So even though I was getting into a normal engineering, I really wanted to do something which is like, creating some impact. I'm basically trying to basically create a difference in the society. I've always been that person. So even when I was getting a normal engineering, I opted for, agriculture engineering, which is with a specialization in food technology. I got it through ICAR, which is Indian Council of Agriculture Research. I still remember in the counseling, my father was mad at me because I was getting a normal engineering and he was like, why on the earth you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I mean, my intent is very, very simple, that I really want to do something which basically, creates an impact and I'm able to help society in a certain way. And that kind of continued. So it is not of the problem statements with respect to whatever problem statements that I have taken in my life, whether it was, studying food tech at that point of time, or solving mobility as a challenge. For me, it is the intent that, okay, there is a problem and it is affecting us in a varied way. So why don't we really come together and solve it? So yeah, I've been this person, and I think God has been kind in helping me in that way. So yeah, I mean, this is how. And also, another very interesting thing, I have a 10-year-old a daughter, and I keep telling her this, that who says that you can only do one thing in life, right? You can always do 10 things. Just make sure that you have to be at the best at it. I'm not like saying it to the people who have like been doing only one thing in their life. Great for you, but I think for somebody like me, I really want to do 10 things in my life before I die, so that I have a lot of stories to tell, and I can basically be rest assured that I have impacted the society in a positive way in 10 different forms. So if you talk to my daughter, she'll tell you 10 things that she wants to do when she grows up. So yeah, yeah, this is how I've been.
So from food technology, and how was your shift into marketing and operations? So what made you choose an MBA in marketing and operations?
So one. So food has always been my first love because I studied food tech, and one of the reasons why I studied food tech was, in the whole engineering of agriculture. I had at 8 semesters, and in all the semesters I used to do internship. So, I mean, imagine the amount of learning that you would do every time you study. Also, you have to be a PCMB student, and food technologists are basically somebody who's specialized in a food, who's basically a specialized engineer for a food manufacturing plant, where you have to not only just take care of the quality of the food, which is basically being manufactured there, but also to make sure that the electrical and mechanical and everything of that particular plant is taken care of. So I was studying mechanical, I was studying electrical, I was studying electronics, and I was also learning about the quality standards of India and outside India. So in a general semester, when when an engineering student will have 8 papers, I used to have 12 or 13 or 14 or 16 also. But the interesting part for me, that's what, as I mentioned, that intent and that inquisitiveness, that okay, this is actually going to drive in a certain way, right? So this is the reason, I have been doing what I have been doing. So that definitely basically opened my mind. And when I learned on the tech side of it, and I realized, oh, this is great. I'm basically, now I know that as a food engineer myself, this is how I can impact a food plant. The next, obviously, the next part comes is the management side of it. So I basically got into it to understand the marketing and the branding and the promotions, how can really do it. And if you remember, I told you that I have done my marketing majors and operations minor, because I have, I did my entire internship on operations, the plant manufacturing and all of that, right? So I understood that side of it. So my intent was to basically get into the food manufacturing plants and work, because I've seen the front end, the back end, all the sides. But yeah, I think life had its own plans, and then yeah, it just kept on changing, as you mentioned very rightly, that life and its curveballs. So yeah, here I am.
So during your MBA, was there any defining moment that you had this thought that maybe I don't want to do this 9 to 5, I want to end up starting a business of my own? Was there a spark?
There are these defining moments in your life we don't even know. Like, I frankly never really had planned for it, but there are these moments where it basically comes to your life and it just reminds you, oh, this is who you are, and it just happened.
Intrinsically, you were meant to, So you did mention about how you had built revenue. So I wanted to understand, what was your strategy beyond the books that helped you, expand beyond India and into South Asian market, especially into Nepal, and I believe you're planning to expand into Bangladesh as well.
Yeah, we already have a project. Yes, so when it comes to the revenue streams for the entire Southeast Asian countries and all, understanding the problem statements, and as I already mentioned earlier, that intent plays a very important role. When we started working on this problem statement for India, now we are the 7th largest country in the world, and now we are the most populous country as well. 9.5 years back, we were the 2nd most populous country in the world, right? So when we started working on the problem statement, we realized that this particular problem, this issue, is a commoner's problem. Things that we basically learn to live with it. I remember as a kid, when I used to go to tuition, there's this bridge across, my colony to the place where I used to go for my tuitions, and many times I would be worried that, oh, I'm gonna miss my class and I'll take an auto, and by the time I take an auto, the bus will cross. And these are the things that basically stay in your mind. So what I realized is that as I'm growing, and as all of us have grown now, we are three co-founders in the company. Narayan is from Bombay. He has used local all his life. Hiranmay has been traveling across various parts of the world and India as well. So he had his own fair share of experience of public transport. What we realized is that we have grown, everybody has grown. We are, from the kids to, working and all of that. But some things have not changed, and it's not in a great way. Like, of course, the buses have become bigger now. Now you have AC and non-AC. Now you have EV as well. But the other things are still same, right? And where you don't know when your bus is going to come. You don't know, whenever you go to get your ticket at that point of time, you don't know when you're going to get your change back from the conductor. I think all of us have gone through it. And various similar problems like that, right, which is related to the public transport, the travel side of it. So as the commoners of the country, we started basically living with it, that this is a part of life. But my question was that why, just because we are the commoners of the country, we are the mango people, why it has to be a problem that we have to deal with every day? Why not add just convenience as a solution? Cannot just be for the people who are at the upper middle class and more than that, right? Why is it not for the commoners of the country? We all need it, right?
Yes.
So why the convenience is only for them? And that kind of intrigued me, to work on this. And then we all came together. Yes, I had an incident that happened on that scenario. So from there it started, working on various P&Ls, corporate side as well, where I was establishing ecosystem for various OEMs. I have done it for Harman, I have done it for Crestron, Christie, across India and neighboring nations as well. And that kind of gave me an idea of how to really establish P&L and go to a market and establish the whole market system, how to enableize and channelize the whole channel system, eco players, you can say, the ecosystem enablers, right, who basically come together and create a P&L for you. So this is how we started for Tummoc, and when we established it for 4.5 years, right, it gave us a lot of insights. And that is, once we learned from it, it was easy for us to, say that, what, now we are prepared to go to other countries. So last year we started in Nepal and Bangladesh together. And this year we are planning to, go to at least 3 more countries. And the plan here is to what we were able to do for India in 5.5 years. We should be able to, scale up the whole thing and amp up. And we should be able to do it in 2 years of time. So in Nepal, we have been there for almost a year now. The first challenge in Nepal was to create data. It's a 70% hilly area, mountain and 30% plain. It had its own challenges. Bangladesh has its own challenges considering the political side of things as well. So we are trying to figure out the middle ground. And we have already, with Nepal, the P&L is already established. We have started getting the first, the checks have started coming in after almost 1.5 years of putting our effort into it consistently. Bangladesh also, the revenue streams have begun. And so one country at a time, one problem at a time. This is how we are working on that.
You were talking about data and how it's the fundamental piece of how we start to make decisions. So I wanted to understand, through your course at Tummoc, how did you navigate between making data-driven decisions and taking, giving importance to soft skills and navigating through data-driven decisions?
Actually, it starts from, the parallel career that I had in, consultative selling. So that basically, and the fact that I was basically in the various jobs that I was working professionally, I was navigating different markets and, establishing ecosystems at various places, right? So numbers and data and, market research and all of that was definitely helping. So that kind of helped me here. Now, from when I joined my own startup completely full-time, 5.5 years back, that number thing was always there in me. And now if I tell you, even the branding strategies that we do here, everything is numbers, brand-led growth. We don't here in Tummoc do just branding for the sake of it. Like most of the maximum money that is spent in any organization is on advertising, and it is not usually measured. In our company, that is measured too. So after, with whatever that I am doing, everything is measured. Everything is numbers. I know that there are some moments in life when you have to just go with your intuition and trust the unknown. That moments come as well, but I would say just keep it to the minimum. Where maybe 10%. Like for example, our decision to go into Nepal as a market, that was intuition.
Okay.
But once we got in there and we're working on the pre-GTM plan, that okay, this is how we're gonna be in the market and understand and all of that, right? So of course, with time we did our research and we did definitely back it with data.
I wanted to understand in depth, ma'am. So you were working in a 9 to 5, and it would have been pretty comfortable, and you just have a clear direction as to what you're going to be working on. From there to starting your own company where you'll have to interact with a lot of people, cross functionally collaborate. So, how has this shift been, and how difficult has it been to collaborate?
So when I was working also, I knew that eventually I have to get into my startup, but I think as luck would have it, I wanted to be at a point where people know that I'm leaving not because of my work, because my work is already speaking volumes of like whatever the best that I could achieve in this particular thing, I've done it. And then you drop the mic. And then, of course, you are very scared because you get into something of absolutely no idea. For example, when I was leaving that and getting into my, Tummoc as a startup completely, people were saying, why are you doing this? You're doing so good. You're hitting countries in such short span of time. You've grown so much, right? It's crazy. Why are you doing this? And I used to tell them that, marketing was just one side of it. Imagine 10, 11 years, 11 and a half years, completely away from marketing to really get into marketing now. Like, of course, what was taught to me as a marketing too when I joined, it was completely different. Consistently keep learning the ASO side of it, SEO. I have been, no matter how busy I am, every day, every month, at least I try to learn 2 to 3 courses around marketing and growth and partnerships and also I never take anything for granted, as I mentioned to you already. So, consistently and growth, like you have to keep learning of the things that you are going to apply for your product because it's your own baby.
So, if there was one, advice that you'd want to give to yourself when you were doing an MBA or when you're starting your career, what would have that been?
Don't change yourself because of the world. It's going to be difficult, right? People will take the good things from people and stay away from the bad stuff. You take your own decision. Don't let the influence of your friends in, because you know your journey. No one else knows that. So when you
It's
know your
personal and
journey,
it's you should be
yes, so
driving
it's always gonna be you versus you. So when you have that, right, so you'll not be jealous of your friends, you'll not be jealous of your family. None of the comments and compliments of your friends will affect you, of your family will affect you, because like that, okay, there is a reason why I'm doing this and what is the intent behind it, and why I'm here and what I'm doing and all of that. So that necessity and then intent to really adapt and okay, I want you to accept me, that you don't really do that.
How exactly you came up with the name Tummoc? I think it's the reverse of
Word commute.
right? So,
So
I just
yeah,
wanted to shift gears.
Tummoc as a term, I will not take the credit. I give the credit to Hiranmay. He's
Okay.
my fellow co-founder, is my partner too. So many names were given and funny names, random names. And then Hiranmay came and said, you know what, why don't we call it Tummoc? I said, yeah, this is great. Yeah, it's Tummoc. So 2 things. First thing, the intent that reverts the way people commute, minus the E. And then in SU and ASO ranking, it's like Xerox, right? As a term, I basically put the meaning of that word into your mind, right? The Xerox company. So how it also helps in your top of the mind approach for a consumer. That when they say Tummoc, they know what it is. There is no relatable word which will basically take that space. So ASO and SEO ranking also improves.
Okay.
Like why it is called Swiggy and Zomato, some random name, right? Blinkit. It does not mean anything, right? But here
Just
there is
stays
a
with the customer in their
yes, top of the mind. So this is also part of the marketing strategy, right? So yeah, everything, all the checkbox were ticked, and yeah, this is how we started Tummoc.
Yeah. So with that being said, ma'am, I wanted to understand what would be an advice that you'd give to people who want to enter into a role that is integrated between marketing, technology, and strategy and growth? You know, people who are looking forward to move into these domains.
I think if I can just tell you the generic side of it, which is, important for everyone, including me, that I do even now, is to be on ground zero. You also always have to keep learning. Keep learning from your successes, keep learning from your failures. Have a very clear intent of what you're doing and why you're doing, and consistency, very important. You have to have that discipline that irrespective of whether you succeed or whether you fail, you'll just keep on doing, keep learning from that. Specifically with respect to marketing and growth and all the disciplines that you have told, one of the things which is very important, again, which I have spoken about earlier, is go to market. Like you want to work on strategy, you want to work on branding, you have to be on the field. You should know your consumers at the back of your hand. You should know what they do, what they eat. You should know their whole schedule at the back of your hand. You should consistently keep studying them. It's like a research that never stops, right?
Yes.
So when you have these things done, right, and you're so confident that you understand their whole behavior, right, the rest of the things just becomes easy. Then obviously the probability of your failing will reduce. It's not that you will not fail, but then again you will learn, right? So yeah, these are the 4-5 things.
I think the people out there are taking notes as you're saying this.
I really hope they do.
So it was really fun understanding the USP of Tummoc, ma'am. And I think I'd like to conclude by saying it was an amazing session that we had. The key learnings and takeaways that we had was to have a good intent and be consistent with our approach. And, as much as life is going to be throwing curveballs at us, it is our adaptability that will help us grow.
Data.
And data. And always have a data backed research irrespective of the field which you're working on. The analytics and the data is going to take you a long way ahead.
Yes.
And help you back your decisions. And once again, I'd like to appreciate and thank you for taking your time and giving your valuable time and insights for us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
for
much. Thank
joining
you so
us.
much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.